Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare quarter-dollar coins, cause some of these coins hold an incredible history, and some are worth millions. So today, we are gonna uncover the rarest varieties and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're talking about a true gem in American coinage, the United States 1-cent coin from the year 1960. You heard that right, just a simple penny. But not just any penny. This one might just be hiding in plain sight, sitting in a drawer, tucked into a piggy bank, or even floating at the bottom of your old coin jar. What makes this coin so extraordinary? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll learn how a single cent from 1960 could be worth $80,000. And yes, we're talking about real money, not collector fantasy. Let's rewind for a moment and go back to the year 1960. America was a country on the move. The space race was heating up. John F. Kennedy was about to become president, and the American dream was alive and well. And while the nation looked to the stars, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing coins, millions of them, in fact, including a very special type of Lincoln cent. Now, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation since 1909. Featuring the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front. But in 1960, something interesting happened, something that would go unnoticed by most people for years. That year, the United States Mint struck Lincoln cents with two different date sizes, what collectors now call the small date and the large date. Varieties. Both were issued from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. To the average eye, the difference is subtle. But to collectors, it's a treasure map. The small date version, particularly the one minted in Philadelphia, is where things get really exciting. These were produced in smaller quantities and have become highly desirable over time. Combine that with certain minting errors, and you've got a coin that can skyrocket in value. Now let's talk about those errors, the little accidents that turn an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. In the world of coin collecting, errors are everything. They're like nature's fingerprints, no two exactly the same. Some 1960 pennies were struck with a double die, which means the coin was accidentally stamped twice with a slight misalignment. This creates a ghost-like effect, especially visible in the date or the word liberty. That might sound like a mistake, but in the world of numismatics, mistakes are gold. Other rare examples include off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, where the little d for Denver was punched more than once, and even coins struck on the wrong metal planchet. Each of these adds another layer of rarity, uniqueness, and value. For collectors, the 1960 Lincoln penny is a perfect storm. It's old enough to have historical charm, yet recent enough that it still occasionally shows up in circulation. It has multiple varieties, rich historical context, and the potential for dramatic minting errors. And here's the kicker, it's often overlooked. That's what makes it so exciting. Every time you get change back from a store, every time you crack open an old coin jar, there's a chance, a real chance, that one of those dusty, forgotten pennies could be the one. Imagine the thrill of flipping through a handful of old coins and spotting that subtle small date. You take a closer look. Maybe you see the doubling in the numbers. Your hands start to shake. Your heart starts to race. And in that moment, you realize you're holding a piece of history. A piece of fortune. So what's the magic number? What's the value of a perfect, pristine, small date, double die 1960 penny? If you are lucky enough to own this coin in mint state condition, and if it features one of the rare and dramatic minting errors, then buckle up, because it could be worth as much as $80,000. That's right. A single penny. 1 cent worth $80,000. Now, let that sink in. Before you rush off to check your change jars, don't forget, coin collecting isn't just about the money. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the beauty of imperfection, and the stories hidden in metal and copper. Each coin is a time capsule, a slice of history, and sometimes a jackpot. Top 2, we're talking about a coin that might seem totally ordinary at first glance, but in rare cases can be worth far, far more than anyone would expect. That's right, we're taking a deep look at the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from the year 1970. Yes, 1970. A year full of culture, change, and history. But did you know that one of the most valuable Washington quarters ever known to collectors was minted in this very year? Most people wouldn't think twice about a 1970 quarter. After all, millions were made. But as you're about to find out, There are a few incredibly rare 1970 quarters that have become the crown jewels of coin collections that let's break it down. The Washington quarter has been a part of American coinage since 1932, and the design remained fairly consistent for decades, featuring George Washington's profile on the front and a proud eagle on the back. By the time we reached 1970, quarters were being struck in copper-nickel clad instead of silver, a change that had taken place in 1965 due to rising silver prices. But even though the silver content was gone, 1970 was still a year full of surprises at the U.S. Mint. Here's where things get exciting. Among the millions of 1970 Washington quarters that were minted, there are a few with extremely rare and unusual characteristics. These are not just your average coins. They are the result of minting errors, and these small mistakes can lead to big value in the collector world. One of the most famous and valuable varieties of the 1970 quarter is the 1970 S-proof quarter struck on a 1941 Canadian quarter. Yes, you heard that right. There are known examples where a U.S. quarter design was accidentally struck on an old Canadian coin blank. The design of the Washington quarter is stamped right over the original Canadian coin's design, creating a truly one-of-a-kind error. These are extremely rare, and collectors go absolutely wild for them. And that's not the only type of error you'll want to look for. Doubled die errors, where letters or numbers on the coin appear to be doubled, are another big one. Imagine seeing the word liberty or the phrase "in God we trust" with a ghostly, shadowed effect. That's no trick of the eye. That's a rare error that makes your coin significantly more valuable. Another error to look for is the off-center strike, where the design of the coin is shifted to one side, leaving a blank crescent on the edge. These mistakes happen when the coin blank wasn't properly positioned in the press during minting. The more dramatic the misalignment, the rarer and often more valuable the coin becomes. There are also clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is literally missing, usually because of a miscut blank before striking. And don't forget about wrong planchet errors, where the coin was mistakenly struck on a planchet mint for another denomination entirely. These are the types of mistakes that make collectors sit up and take notice. Now, rarity and error type are only part of the equation. The condition of the coin also plays a huge role in determining its value. A 1970 quarter with a rare error in circulated condition might be worth a few hundred or even a few $1,000s. But if that same coin is in mint state, meaning it looks just as clean and sharp as the day it was struck, its value can skyrocket. These rare finds are extremely limited in number, and that's what drives their price so high. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. But it's possible, and people have done it. That's what makes coin collecting such a thrilling pursuit. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story includes a massive payout. Now, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. How much can one of these rare, error-filled, pristine condition 1970 Washington quarters be worth? Well, brace yourself, because one of these incredibly rare quarters has been sold for a jaw-dropping $80,000. Yes, that's right, $80,000. For a coin that most people would drop into a parking meter without a second thought. So if you ever come across a 1970 quarter, don't toss it aside. Look closely. Check the edges. Examine the details. Because that little coin might just be your golden ticket. Top 3 were unlocking the mystery behind a quarter that's often passed off as just pocket change, but under the right circumstances, could be worth a fortune. We're talking about the 1982 Washington quarter, a coin that might just be hiding in your home, your wallet, or even that jar of old change sitting in your kitchen. At first glance, it looks like just another 25-cent piece. But stay with me, because this is one coin you'll want to look at a little closer. The year 1982 might not seem particularly historic, but when it comes to U.S. coinage, it was actually a year full of interesting shifts and unique challenges. And those challenges led to a few surprising outcomes, including some incredibly rare and valuable quarters. Let's start with a bit of context. The Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932, and by the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was dealing with budget constraints and operational changes. In 1982, for the first time in years, the Mint did not issue any official mint sets for collectors. That's right, no mint sets in 1982. So, if you wanted a high-quality 1982 quarter in uncirculated condition, you had to be lucky enough to find one directly from a fresh roll or a bank bag. And that alone makes high-grade versions of this coin rarer than you'd expect. But there's more. Much more. What really gets collectors excited are the errors and varieties that surface during this time. One of the most talked about features is the missing mint mark. Most Washington quarters bear a mint mark like P for Philadelphia or D for Denver. But in some rare cases, 1982 quarters were struck without any mint mark at all, not due to wear, but because of a genuine minting oversight. Coins missing their mint mark are already attention-grabbing, but when it happens in a year like 1982, it's an even bigger deal. Then there are the double die errors. These occur when the coin is struck with a die that has a misaligned or double design, resulting in visible doubling on the lettering or numbers. Imagine seeing two slightly offset versions of the word Liberty or the date 1982. That's not a smudge. That's a minting mistake that can skyrocket the value of your coin. We also see off-center strikes from 1982, where the coin's image is not properly aligned. A well-centered coin is the norm, but when the image is dramatically shifted, that's a production error, and it's worth money. Even more dramatic are wrong planchet errors. That's when a quarter is struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, like a penny or even a foreign coin. These are incredibly rare and extremely collectible. Let's not forget about die breaks, clipped planchets, and struck-through errors, all of which add a unique flair to the coin and increase its desirability for collectors. And if any of these errors occur on a coin that's also in mint state condition, meaning it has never been used in circulation and has no signs of wear, well, that's the dream scenario for any coin enthusiast. Now here's something else worth noting. 1982 was also the year the mint changed the lettering style on the reverse of the quarter. There are actually two distinct varieties, the small date and large date designs. While they may seem subtle to the average person, seasoned collectors can spot the difference, and some combinations of date style and minting errors are much rarer than others. So let's put all of this together. A coin from a year with no mint sets. Hard to find uncirculated examples, rare minting errors like double dies and missing mint marks, and scarce planchet mistakes. Combine any of these with top-tier condition, and what do you get? You get a 1982 Washington quarter that can be worth more than you ever thought possible. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. A single, error-filled, mint state 1982 Washington quarter, with the right combination of rarity, condition, and mistake, was once sold for an eye-popping $78,000. Yes, you heard that right, $78,000. For one single quarter. So next time you find a 1982 quarter in your change, don't just toss it into the coin jar. Take a moment. Look at the details. Check for errors. Examine the edges. Because you just might be holding on to a small piece of metal that's worth more than a brand new luxury car. Top 4, we're diving deep into a coin that could surprise you with its value and mystery. Let's talk about the United States Washington quarter dollar from the year 1986. At first glance, the 1986 quarter might not look like much. It's one of those coins that most people wouldn't think twice about. You've probably held one in your hand, maybe spent one at a vending machine or tossed one into a parking meter. But hidden among those ordinary coins are a few incredibly rare versions, coins with secret errors, minting mysteries, and near-perfect condition that have made them highly desirable to collectors. So, how does a coin from 1986 go from pocket change to prized collectible? Let's break it down. The Washington quarter has been a cornerstone of American currency since 1932. By the time we reached 1986, the design was still consistent with George Washington on the front and the heraldic eagle on the back, symbols of tradition and national pride. But while the design stayed familiar, the minting process is where things got interesting. The 1980s were a busy time for the U.S. Mint. Millions of quarters were being produced annually. But with high-speed production came inevitable mistakes, and that's where the real treasure begins. Let's talk about the types of errors that make the 1986 quarter a potential gold mine. First, we have the double die error. This is when the coin is struck by a die that has been misaligned or impressed more than once, creating a doubling effect on the letters or numbers. If you see ghost-like doubling on the words Liberty or In God We Trust, or even on the date, that's not just wear and tear, that could be a double die, and that's a big deal. Next up, off-center strikes. This happens when the coin blank isn't correctly placed during the striking process, resulting in a design that appears pushed to one side, leaving a blank crescent. These errors are visually striking and highly collectible, especially when the date is still fully visible. There's also the wrong planchet error, where the quarter was struck on a coin blank meant for a different denomination, like a dime or even a foreign coin. The coin may look smaller, feel lighter, or sound different when dropped. These mistakes are incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. Another error to look out for? The clipped planchet. This is where a piece of the coin appears to be clipped or missing due to a misfeed during the blank cutting process. These coins look like they've had a bite taken out of them, but for collectors, that bite adds a lot of value. Now, we can't talk about valuable coins without talking about condition. A coin with an error is one thing, but when that coin is also in mint state condition, meaning it has no scratches, no wear, and retains its original shine, that's when collectors get truly excited. It's worth noting that in 1986, the mint produced both business strikes and special mint sets. But most of the quarters ended up in circulation, collecting wear and tear. Finding one in pristine condition today, especially with a notable error, is like finding a needle in a haystack. But guess what? Some people have found that needle. Some lucky collectors, eagle-eyed enough to spot the signs of a rare strike, have held onto their coins, and when those coins hit the auction block, they didn't sell for 25 cents. Not even $25. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for. A rare, error-filled, mint condition 1986 Washington quarter has been sold for an absolutely astonishing $76,000. Yes, you heard that right. $76,000. For one single quarter. That's the magic of coin collecting. A coin that most people overlook could be the very one that changes your life. So next time you get change back at the store, don't ignore it. Look closely. You might just be holding a hidden treasure in the palm of your hand. Top 5. We're shining a spotlight on a piece that looks common but could be extraordinarily valuable. The United States Washington quarter dollar from 1994 that you might be thinking. A 1994 quarter? Isn't that just everyday pocket change? Well, that's exactly what makes this coin so intriguing. On the surface, it's a regular quarter, but among the millions minted that year are some rare versions that collectors dream about. So, listen closely and enjoy this deep dive, because the story of this quarter is anything but ordinary. First, let's take a quick look at the coin itself. The 1994 Washington quarter continues the classic design with George Washington's profile on the obverse and the iconic eagle on the reverse. It's a coin we all recognize. But within this sea of familiar faces, a few rare minting quirks and errors give some of these quarters an unexpected edge in the collector's world. One of the most sought-after features in the 1994 quarters is the presence of minting errors. These aren't your everyday scratches or minor blemishes. These are true errors that happen during the production process. For example, some 1994 quarters exhibit the elusive double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once, causing doubling on the lettering or numbers, especially noticeable on the date or the word Liberty. Imagine holding a coin where you can actually see two slightly offset images on the same surface. That's what makes double die coins so rare and valuable. Another fascinating error is the missing or misplaced mint mark. Normally, the D or P mint mark on a quarter tells you exactly where it was made, Denver or Philadelphia. But some 1994 quarters came out without a mint mark at all, or with it faintly stamped, making them much rarer and highly coveted by collectors who love the story behind every mistake. And let's not forget about off-center strikes, when the coin's design is noticeably shifted from its center, leaving a portion of the coin blank. Off-center errors add a unique visual twist and rarity that collectors jump at. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value, especially if the date and design are still intact and recognizable. Then there are the clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's metal was unintentionally cut away before the design was struck. This irregular shape makes the coin stand out immediately and often skyrockets its value. Of course, rarity alone isn't enough to command huge prices. Condition matters tremendously. A coin that looks brand new, uncirculated, and with sharp details commands a premium. But a 1994 quarter in pristine, mint state condition that also features one of these rare errors? That's the jackpot for any collector. Why all the excitement over a coin from 1994, you ask? Well, the mint produced millions of quarters that year, but very few of these error coins survived in top condition. Most entered everyday circulation, suffering wear and tear. The few that remain unblemished and error-free, or rather error-filled in the collectible sense, have become some of the most sought-after modern quarters on the market. Now, here's the best part. The value that if you've got your hands on one of these rare, error-filled, mint condition 1994 Washington quarters, You could be holding a coin worth an astonishing $73,000. Yes, $73,000 for a single quarter. Who knew that a coin so common could hold such an incredible story and value? So the next time you find a 1994 quarter in your change, don't overlook it. Take a closer look. You might just be staring at a hidden treasure. That if you enjoyed this video and want more fascinating coin discoveries and hidden values, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We're uncovering coin secrets one rare find at a time, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting!